Okay, I'll tell you when, Michelle. We're still, for me, it's pre-live still. Here we go. We're live.
Good afternoon. Happy lunch on this March 16th, 8 days countdown towards our career day. Thank you all for spending your lunch with us here at the Career Development Center as we go through resumes and cover letters. So there is a moderator. If you have questions as we go through, please type them in the chat box. It's the easiest way for them to get to me, and we'll take breaks as we go through. So without further ado, I'm going to jump right in and we'll look at resumes and cover letters. This is a general overview, and I think we'll probably have students here from all walks of life, all programs of life. So this is just your general starting place for your resumes. So, okay, it's not going to the next slide. There we go. So my name is Michelle Matthijssen. I am the Coordinator Career Development Services with the Career Development Center. And in the Career Center, we can help you find employment, register for webinars such as this one. We do virtual drop-ins on Tuesday afternoons and Thursday mornings, and you can attend virtual information sessions and networking events like the Career Day coming up on March 24th. KPU has, through Advisor Connect, you can book career advising appointments. They're 45 minutes long to talk about your specific resume, cover letter, your job search, career exploration, etc. And you can also find out how to be a volunteer and get your volunteer hours up. Okay, so when you're setting up your job search, you need to kind of get in the right frame of mind. Play private investigator and do some research on your job, your industry, the company that you want to work for. One of my favorite sayings comes from Alice in Wonderland, where the rabbit asks where Alice is going to go, and she goes, "I don't know." Well, then the rabbit said, "It doesn't matter which way you go." So if you have a company in mind and an industry, it's a lot easier to target your resume and your job search towards that. Give yourself some time. Trying to knock off a resume or a cover letter on a Friday night before you're heading out just isn't going to put your best foot forward. So 3 days, 4 days, of actually creating your resume and cover letter so you can go back, kind of like writing an essay. When you have that fresh mind and you've given yourself time to look at the essay the next day, you find all sorts of things that you would change or correct or put in line. You want to target your resume for your industry, for your job. It's not going to be a laundry list of things that you've done. You don't have to list everything. You want to target it and let that employer know that you've got the skills or the passion to do this position. Okay. So first, when you're setting off, you want to read, you see a job description, you like it, you think it's a good match, you can do this. The steps I strongly suggest, and I do this myself, is I look at that job ad and I highlight the hard skills, maybe in blue, and the soft skills in a different color. Here I picked red. And you want to make a qualifications checklist. So going down that ad, and you're going to highlight which ones are hard skills and soft skills. And as I do that, I write little stories in the margins of why I think I have that hard skill or how I performed that in the past. And then I watch out for keywords, and I use a third color for that. So here's an example of an advertising and marketing representative for Gusto Promotions. Again, I've done the hard skills in red and the soft skills in blue. And because I'm not using a highlighter old school with pens and paper, etc. I've highlighted some words down at the bottom in green: advertise, entry level, motivate, engaging, words that they've used a lot, and I want to make sure that those words, I'm going to incorporate them in my resume and my cover letter. So this is a very impactful job ad. So an amazing team of entrepreneurs to build a fast-growing and exciting consumer brand. So if this is the energy that I'm getting from that job description, I want to make sure that I have that energy. If this is something that I really am passionate about doing, I want to make sure that I bring that energy to the table in my resume and my cover letter, and make sure that that's a good match, because they're going to feel that as well. So this is how I read a job ad, and I take this information and these words, and I'm going to take this into my resume. So let's look at the basic resume components. First, you have your contact information in the top. You have your name, your credentials. So if you've graduated, you can have your BSc, your BSN, anything like that in your name. A telephone number, and just one is good. Make sure that it has a business message center on it. If there's a bunch of numbers, then they can get confusing on which one they called and which one they didn't. A professional email address. I know the school ones are a little bit long, but it looks professional. It has your name in there. I try and stay away from the Hotmail email addresses unless it's a real business type one. You don't want cutesy, or if it has your birth year in it, they're going to know how old you are. Kind of stay away from those tips and tricks. And your website, your LinkedIn. Make sure your LinkedIn is up to date, because employers are going to look at that. That's a networking platform now. It's well accepted. So make sure that it's up to date. They're going to look. The next section is your profile and your summary of skills. We don't use objectives anymore. It's either a bulleted summary of skills or a profile, or you can have a hybrid of both. You can start off with a short paragraph, 2 or 3 sentences, and then list skills underneath. And this 5 to 7 seconds at the top of your resume is valuable real estate. It wants to grab that employer right away. You want to have that just grab them and get them to read farther, because it is your resume that's going to get you the interview. It's going to get you the phone call. So if that information isn't at the top, if you have your skills way down at the bottom, they have to look for it, and they may have already made a decision to put your resume in the off to the side and not shortlist you. Okay, so the summary is a concise overview of your relevant abilities for this position. Again, it's not a laundry list. You don't want to go on and on about things or that really aren't relevant to them. Summarize your strong points, directly related, and make a good mix of hard skills and soft skills, and back them up. If you say you're a team player, tell me about your team playing experience. So you worked in a team of 20 people to increase sales over mortgage season 20%. I would write that a little bit better, but you see what I'm saying? There's some quantifying and some qualifying in that. Okay, so we've got the top, we've got all your information up there, and you want to use that, oops, I missed this here, letterhead at the top. Make sure this is on all of your pieces of paper. Your reference list, your cover letter, you want it to make it the same, and it's concise, and so that we know that this is your whole job search kit. Okay. I'll just check in here. Was there any questions so far?
None so far.
Okay, excellent, thank you. I'm going to move on to the next area. Special skills. So this is part of that summary. Some special skills that you might add into that summary are software that you know, social media platforms that you're well versed in, hardware components, or any other specific skills that the employer is looking for on that job ad, or that are relevant to the position. This is a good place to list some other things that work experience that might not be, anyway, sorry. other than what's listed in your work experience, again, this is your key area. It's straightforward, 5 seconds, get them excited. Quantify them wherever possible. So make sure that, like I say, you've got some percentages or some numbers, and you've got to back it up. Employers have said that they're tired of just seeing teamwork or just short bulleted points. You want to back it up. The next area you could go into, and there's not any rule of whether education goes first or your work experience goes first. Whatever is most prevalent at that time. If your work experience isn't a match to the job, then you can put your education first if that's a better step into it. Great place to highlight relevant coursework. So tell me about a course that you took, maybe the name of the course and a few things that you did in that course. You can fill up this education area. It doesn't just have to be your what your program is or your GPA. You can tell me a little bit about your education, especially if your work experience isn't a match for the job you're applying for. At least I know you have the training. Okay, high school is not necessary unless the position asks for it specifically. Sometimes the city or RCMP wants to know that you have graduated, and they do ask for that. Otherwise, it is unnecessary, and sometimes it just is a way that employers can find out how old you are. So unless it's specifically requested, you don't need that on there. Again, it's taking up valuable real estate. Okay, if there's no questions, we'll continue along. Here's a couple of examples of education. So the first one, I know I'm going to the next section because it says education. It's Bachelor of Business Administration in Human Resource Management. I'm not going to use any acronyms, the DBA and HRMT. Write it right out. Going to Kwantlen Polytechnic University. I'm a third-year student, so it's present. It's still working there. And here's an example of using relevant coursework. Total compensation, analyze and develop pay grades, compensation packages, et cetera, et cetera. I know that the second bullet, recruitment and selection, is HRMT 3135. I'm not putting that in there because that doesn't make sense to an employer. They don't know their numbers, etc. But the name of the course and what I learned in that course. Our second example here, education, I've decided to underline it so I know when I'm going from each section. Bachelor of Business Administration in Accounting. Now I have a little bit of glitch this one, you may catch my error. It says I've gone from January 2013. It should say present because I'm only a third-year student, but it is a co-op option. And this is a good way for an employer to know, okay, co-op option, this is great. I know that there's going to be some experience in there for a co-op placement. So I'll be looking for that in the experience area. You can put co-op experience either in the education, I could put it in the next area down, or in my work experience. Okay, again, a couple of points with my GPA there, and learned how to effectively communicate goals, etc. Gives me some background to the employer of what I've learned. Okay, any questions on those examples?
Yes, Michelle, we have a question here from Mona. How should we quantify our software and social media skills?
Quantifying is how long or how much, and that. So on your social media, I would basically how long you've been using it. Okay. And for the software too. So if you've had 2 years of education plus another 2 years of practical experience, you can write that out, or just 4 years using a such and such software. Okay.
Great, and I think that's the question that we have.
Okay, excellent, thank you. Okay, so moving on to the next basic resume component. So work experience or volunteer experience. So if you've volunteer experience is relevant again to this position. You want to get it high up on your resume. If you're looking at volunteer experience that is nice to have or showing that you're involved, I would recommend or suggest putting it lower on the resume. So your work experience, volunteer experience, and co-op experience would be in this experience area. Reverse chronological order. Make sure that all your order is reversed, so it's like your last job first, first job last. It's not a laundry list. You don't have to put everything in there. And as much as possible, again, present the description as a list of accomplishments. So make it a sentence. If your bullet runs into the second line, that's okay. It's I say put everything on it and then kind of tweak it down so that you're either staying on a 1-page resume or a 2-page resume. You don't want a page and a half. And again, we're looking at quantify or qualify the experience. Make it relevant to that employer as a need to answer that. I'm going back to that job ad and all those hard skills and soft skills. This is their need that they have and they're trying to fill, and you're trying to say, hey, I meet that, so, and fill that in. Some tips and tricks. On a resume, you don't use personal pronouns, so no I's, me's, my's. Be direct, positive, and be honest. There are companies out there that do background checks and employers are using them. One thing I'm finding now too is I get a resume and then I look at the LinkedIn and there's a lot of difference. If it's a little bit different, or you've left out McDonald's or something like that, so you can stay concise in a one-page resume, that's okay. But if there's a lot of difference, then that's going to be a little awkward to try and explain. Use straightforward, clear, and simple language. You don't have to use a lot of big words, to sound smart or anything. Just keep it to the point and easy to understand. Include relevant volunteer work and use the appropriate tense to describe the experience. Sometimes what I see when I'm critiquing resumes is you've finished the job or a job that you've listed, you're no longer working there, and the first maybe 1 or 2 bullets is past tense, but then it reverts back to a present tense. So make sure that you go through and you've got everything in the same tense. Start each sentence with a power word. I'm giving an example here: analyze, created, delivered, guided, increased. Forgot a comma there. But try and make it really enticing and not using that same power word over and over and over again. So make it be creative. You can Google lots of power words online. And when you're using an example and you're trying to quantify or qualify, you can transition to the example by using the words by or through. So thinking this up on my feed here, you can exercise my social media skills through using Instagram, Facebook, etc., etc. So it gives some examples. It helps you go to that example level. Okay, here's some work experience or an example. So I'm going into my work experience level. I'm a key holder with Future Shop. And this is another point I want to bring forward right now is, do you notice that my positions here are all in bold? And that also was with my in my programs as well. It doesn't matter really where you worked, whether I was a key holder at Reitman's or Future Shop or anywhere. It was that I had that, that I held that position, that I was given that experience to do that and that trust in that position. So key holder with Future Shop, and dates are on the right hand side, nicely balanced. It looks good to the eyes, clean lines. And this is an example of your work when you're going forward. So if you have something that is, clean and well balanced and uses all the areas nicely, the employer is going to get that good feeling about you. So take the time to make this all pleasing to the eye. Okay, so as I said, so bold your positions and bold your programs. Whether you went to KPU or UFV or Douglas, doesn't matter. It's those programs and what you took in the examples or the the program that you learned, the education that you got, that is the key point. Okay. So back to resume components, so additional headings. If you have room, this is just an optional, so any awards that you may have received. I spoke earlier about other volunteer experience or community involvement. If you've been on a sports team for 16 years and you've gone to nationals and you had that team component, that's really important to an employer. It shows that you're tenacious and you're a team player and you work hard, and that they know is going to come forward and come into your job. If you've been following a team, a football team for 16 years, not the same. It's that you were involved in that. So that's really important. References, we're not going to state that on the resume. The reference is available upon request. It's just taking up real estate on that resume. It's not needed. Take them on a separate sheet with the same header from your resume and your cover letter, and take them to your interview. If the job ad asks for references, then yes, you will have to put it on there, but it's not usually done. It's a reason that the employer has to call you. They like what they see, they call you, you go to the interview, and at the end when they ask if you have any questions, that's another webinar, or if you have your references, that's when you hand them over. Okay. Whoops, I went too far there. More tips and tricks. Excuse me for a second. I'm going to go back to more tips and tricks. I hit the button too fast there. Okay, so a resume should only be 1 or 2 pages. 1 is concise, it's nice, it's clear. And if you think you have a cover letter, a resume, and then your references at the interview, that's 3 pages of a kit already. But if you have lots of experience that is relevant and you go to 2 pages, is great. I do say to stay away from the half pages. It just it's not concise. It's kind of draggling over to the next page. References on a second page. Use a 10 to 12 point classic font. So your New Times Roman, Verdana is very popular right now. Arial, I've used Arial for this presentation. Keep your information visually bite-sized and easy to read. Use those white spaces, well balanced. Label the section clearly. I want to know when I'm going from work experience down to education or vice versa. Avoid using a template. Employers can tell. We had a panel last week, and one of the questions that we put out there to the employers was, can you tell when you're using a template? And there was a resounding yes. And sometimes they look nice, but if you are submitting your templated resume to an automatic tracking system or an ATS, lots of times it messes up the formatting, and all your hard work that you sweat and tears that you put into this resume and frustration sometimes can get all messed up, and it's not putting your best foot forward in what you wanted. So I really say put in the time, do a Microsoft Word. And then you can have a dirty copy of your resume, the ugly one that I send through the ATS, which is just basically the facts. And you can have a color one that you take in or you email in as an attachment for applying for those types of jobs. Do not mix a variety of treatments, underlining, italics. I stay to the rule of 3. Just a bold, underline, and italics are the ones that I use. I try and stick to what I can find on my keyboard rather than using the word rulers at the top and using different things. So it's basic, and then there's less that can go wrong if it does go through a tracking system, etc. Sometimes you don't know. Okay. All right, that page. So here's a resume example, a 1-page. I've got my name on the right-hand side, a phone number, an email, and my LinkedIn. Don't need an address. Address is personal information. It doesn't help me do my job. It's taking up valuable real estate. So they can get a hold of me right there. Into my summary of skills, 4 years of experience in customer service and directed sales. I could probably expand there if I did any more. Then I went into my education, BBA in Human Resource Management. Again, I guess it got a little long, so I had to shorten the BBA part. Then I went into work experience, volunteer experience. All the information is there and concise for the employer. Okay, any questions so far?
Michelle, yes, we do have a couple of questions here for you.
Yes.
Yeah, one of the students here is asking, I guess it's related to work experience, if so they don't have to mention all their work experience or work in their resume. Is that?
No, you do not. If you want to, what I do first is I take everything and put it on there, and it's not a big thing anymore to have holes in your work history, especially if you've been going to school. A lot of things are explainable, and if there is maybe a 2, 3, 4 year gap, you can explain that in your cover letter. Okay, if there is an elephant in the room, you were traveling, took some time off, etc., we can usually explain that away if it's a significant time. But 6 months a year is really not that that important anymore. And as things are changing, we see that people are working many jobs. You're not in one job for 25, 30 years anymore. You might do 5 years here, 10 years here. There might be a contracted position. I was on contract for a while, and I would have a 3-month break in between each position, but I was hopping around between employment centers. And that, so yeah, I was still getting that experience, and it was a contract base. So no, you don't have to put them all on there.
Great. No, thank you for that, Michelle. I do have another question here from Zach. It says here, in the education, when we say courses, should we say our final grades? If so, what is the range to highlight? B, A?
No, we don't need our marks on there. If your GPA is really good, you have 3.9 higher, you can put that at the end of your program or underneath somewhere, but your marks per class, not needed.
Okay, perfect. Last question here from Dinesh. If I want to shift to a new job role that is not relevant to my education, how can I project my resume? For instance, management to software developer.
Excellent, excellent question. There's always transferable skills, and sometimes it's not really clear on those skills and how you see them match, and you're trying to get that across to the employer. So we would look at transferable skills. Again, we're going to put your education first because that's most relevant and is the freshest in your mind because you're getting that training in that area. But down in the work experience, we're going to look at those skills and the projects that you've worked on, and how that alludes to the projects that you'll be doing in the future. It's very rare that you can't have some kind of match of your skills that go one to another, and I would love to sit down with you and work that out, and show you how that match goes. But it's those transferable skills. Light them up so that the employer can go, oh, okay, yeah, I can see that, and that's how that works. So yeah, easy one.
And that's the last of my questions here.
Beautiful. Okay, excellent. So just looking at the time there. Okay, next we're going to go into a cover letter. So cover letter is a vital sales tool. It really puts your best foot forward, and helps identify specific skills that is directly related to the employer, to the job. You're going to address a couple of key points and really do a word picture for that employer as he reads that. Now, just statistically, most people will look at a resume first, look at that first half, that 5 to 7 seconds, look at, are we a match, are we in this of the same brain? And then they'll go read your cover letter to see if there's, good presentation, good word structure, that grammar. Does a person know how to communicate and to put things forward and what they're looking at? And then they'll go back and read deeper into the resume. So it really is an important piece. Watch the job ad though. Some job ads out there say does not want a cover letter. If it doesn't say either way, then put a cover letter on it. Err on the side of too much rather than not enough. Okay, so and again, sparks your interest for the employer to interview you. Remember, your resume and cover letter get you the interview. The interview gets you the job. Okay. Structure, first paragraph, must catch that attention and begin to address their needs. I like to, in the first paragraph, find out how you heard about the job ad, or tell me what you know about the company, kind of stroke their ego a little bit. Is there somebody that introduced you to this position? Use their name. Make sure that's okay with them, but that makes that cold contact into a warmer contact. Have you used their services before? Have you used their products before? Have you had great customer service and you want to be part of that team? Okay, kind of warming things up a little bit. That's what I like to put in that first paragraph. And I've just noticed what I've got on here. And make sure that your header is the same from that resume and bring it over. So we're going into the business the business area, and I'm going to show you an example in a second to make sure this is a business letter. Second paragraph, match your talents with their needs. So let's address the hard skills first. Remember, we're going back to that job ad. We might be on day 3 here. I'm going back to the job ad. I've written the examples in the margins down the side. I want to get that excitement going again. And I'm going to, draw out all those hard skills. They were the red ones. I'm going to bring those out and I'm going to address a few of those. Don't have to do all of them. You don't have to do overkill on those words. I actually watched a YouTube once where somebody had taken some of the keywords, put them in white ink, font size 2 at the bottom of the resume, trying to attract the automatic tracking system to pull out that resume. Don't do that. It's going to get you blackballed. But you want to have a couple of those keywords and hard skills in there. It says here, address all the hard skills. Pick 1 or 2 that are really the shining light for you in your job search here, and go into the examples. Tell a little bit of a concise story. Don't business letter. Your cover letter is only 1 page. You don't need to go into 2 or 3 pages. That's just too much reading. But how you've acquired that, how you've used that skill, how you've used the hardware, that kind of idea. And then, the third paragraph, we're going to match the soft skills and do that kind of, and again, it says address all of them. Pick 2 or 3 that just really are the key areas. You've highlighted them. If they've come up a couple of times, maybe soft skills, engaging. I remember that word that I highlighted down in green. They used engage or engaging quite a bit. So I want to use that. That's their vernacular. I want to use that in mine. Okay, include examples and descriptions of how you are engaging or how you have been engaging before, how engaging customers increased sales, or getting up in front of people and going into that. And then your fourth paragraph, re-express your interest in this position and give them your phone number. I'm not keen on putting your email in there as well. I want to promote or prompt them to phone me. Emails get lost in junk mail, or now you've got your inbox and then you've got your structured inbox and your junk mail and anyway, it can get lost. Get them to give you a phone call. Okay, so that's how I like to set up the structure of a cover letter. Here's an example. So again, first name, last name. I like my personal preference. It's all resumes and cover letters is subjective. I like them right-hand side. Again, would have been my John Smith phone number, email, and LinkedIn. My address, and then in this top left-hand corner is the employer's name and the employer's mailing address. If you can't get the point of contact name, you can use hiring manager, hiring team, anything along that line, but I'm sure you can find the employer's mailing address. Head office is usually where their HR staff team is. But do a little, we talked about very quickly, doing that research and that private investigation. Scroll right down to the bottom of the web page, and usually the address is in that bar right at the bottom. If there is a job reference number or a job title, you can put regarding and the title. So maybe this employer has lots of jobs going on at the moment. I want to know which one you're applying for. Okay, and then dear Mr., Ms., an employer's last name, if you can get it. Otherwise, dear hiring manager. Excuse me. Sorry. Okay, then I have my business letter set up. My first paragraph is going to be how I know about that company. Second paragraph, my hard skills. Third paragraph, my soft skills. And you can switch those. You can do soft before hard if you want, if it's more applicable to this position, and then ask for the interview. Sincerely, first name and last name. Again, on this panel, we used one of my takeaways, this panel that we had last week. They said use an electronic signature. It's becoming much more easy to do the electronic signature, and if you have the wherewithal to do that, you can do an electronic signature on there. So that's really quickly the examples of a cover letter. Can I ask if there's any questions for that?
Hi, Michelle. It's Michelle again here.
Mhm.
I have one question here, but this is regarding resumes. Should we include if we were in grad committee and peer mentor in high school in their resume?
You're muted, Michelle.
Hi, Michelle. It's Michelle here. Okay, I have one question here. It says here, should we include if we were in grad committee and peer mentor in high school? And I think this is for resumes.
Sorry, I lost my box to unmute myself and I had a tickle in my throat. Okay, my apologies. And I'm going to go back here to this one. Grad committees, you could put it, because we haven't included, so I'm just going to think this out for a second, and this is usually what I do when I start looking at resumes and cover letters. My first question is this relevant to the position? Are you going for some kind of job that project management, or you're an event coordinator, etc. So if that is, and this is relevant, I can see that, wow, she's been doing this a long time, then I might put it down under other volunteer experience, kind of as an interest thing at the bottom. If it's not relevant to the position, then it's just taking up real estate, and let's look at something that is more relevant to what you want to go forward with. That would be my first sort of off the cuff answer to that as we're looking at these generally. Anything else?
I have a question here, I think related to career fair, which I think I can answer too. So the person is asking if in career fair, if they can see the company representative's name, and if so, what should we put on the name side? So first of all, yes, the representative names will be posted there in when you actually talk to that person. And there's also a contact person that is posted on the employer profile. So you can definitely have the name of the hiring manager added to your resume if you're trying to apply for a position during the career fair. So yes. Second thing I have here, I'm not sure exactly what question this is. It has leadership skills and communications, etc. Do you mind maybe expanding on this question?
Sorry, just to clarify, leadership
I'm asking, I guess, the one who answered that, who asked that question, Michelle.
Sorry, I'm just a little lost on the question itself.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, well, it says here it has leadership skills and communications, etc. That's pretty much the okay. Post. So I think we'll wait until we get the expansion.
If you're trying to put leadership and communication skills on your resume, and if those are the things that you want to expand on when you go to your cover letter, again, leadership thing, I, as an employer, would want to know how you gained those leadership skills. Did you lead a team in a project, or a case management? Excuse me, sorry. Or something along that line, then I wanted to hear a little bit more about that. If it's on your resume, bulleted and concise, in your cover letter, you can go into it a little bit more, telling me about your leadership skills, whether they've been there's been education with it, or how you've gone and put that forward. Even if it's been in your volunteer experience, if you led a volunteer team on a project, then yeah, tell me about it. That's how we get those skills, and we try things out and move forward with them. Communication, yeah, tell me about your communication. Is it standing up, giving TED Talks? Is it business letter style? There's a lot of communication. Is it body language? Is it art? Is it music? Is it dance? So tell me and go in some detail, and you know, you almost want to hook that employer to get more information out of you, going, oh, you know, this is exciting. What, I could see how this works, and they almost make you a fit in their head already, because you've got them that excited in it, and that's what you want to put forward on that information. I got excited talking about it. So thank you for these questions. They're great. Anything else?
Yes, we have a career fair question here. If it's possible for them to see which employers will be attending the career fair before the 24th. And yes, it is available already. You can definitely just simply log into Career Connection, which is our student and alumni job board, and go to events. The virtual career day event page is already live in Career Connection, so feel free to go in, research who the employers are. And if you have missed our first webinar in terms of how to VCF and how to actually use the platform and some tips and tricks, feel free to hop onto kpu.ca/careerday. The recorded webinar is also available there already, so feel free to watch that as well.
Excellent. And at that kpu.ca/careerday, if you scroll all the way to the bottom, there is a list of employers down there as well.
Sure.
So yeah, 2 ways to find them. Excellent. Thank you. How are we doing?
I think that's the last question I have here. If students still have more questions, please feel free to write it down in the announcement board.
Excellent. Okay, so again, your cover letter, written communication is the key. This is a sample of your work. You're going to make it count. If you're an accountant, you want to look those details in the eye. I think of if the resume is messy and all over the place, the employer is going to think that you're messy, and maybe that's not great for, well, any position. But I think about an accounting one, you're dotting I's and T's and numbers and keeping things in lines and columns and stuff. I want to make sure that my lines and my columns on my resume are showing that that's how I work. That's just an example. You want to make sure it is for all positions. Personalize the letter. If you, again, have that point of contact person, put their name there. You can call the company. All they're going to have is your call display, but pick up the phone and call the company. Say, I'm applying for this position. Could you please tell me who I should address this to? Great, thank you. Could you just spell that name for me? Make sure I got the spelling right. Thank you so much. Have a nice day. That's the end of it. Stay away from wordiness, not like this webinar. Be clear, concise, and focused. Write knowledgeably about a company or not at all. You know, in that first paragraph when you're stroking their ego, make sure you research and you talk about what you know. Don't make it up, because then it's almost a slap in the face. It works against you. Match their hard skills and their soft skills, not what you think they need. Match that job ad and proofread it. Watch the grammar and the spelling. You can send your resumes into resume@kpu.ca for a review, and I will look at them. It's taking a little bit longer because I'm just one person right now, but I am getting to them and working hard. So feel free to send it. It is a service that we provide to you. Tips and tricks: do use the correct name spelled correctly. I've even seen some people spell their name incorrectly, so make sure your name is spelled correctly as well. And just a reminder that, because I come up with tips and tricks all the time, the name at the top does not have to be your official name. So if you your name's Michael and you go by Mike, then you can use Mike. You don't have to use the full name. Okay, you save that for the your T4 forms and all the government forms to get paid, etc. It does help the employer as well when they're calling you. If there's like 3 names along there, which one am I going by? I myself go by my middle name, so if I put them all on there, they'd probably call me by my first name. Call the company, address all women as Ms. It's just a good thing to, if you're using their name, to fall back on, because you don't know if they're a Miss or a Mrs. Project confidence but not arrogance. Use your action words. Focus on what you can do for the employer. Remember, this is a gift. This is their company. This is how they make money, and do that. So you want to make sure that the focus is on what you can do for them, not on what they can do for you. Okay, that's not what it's all about. Don't use superlatives. That's really big words saying that you're the best, and etc. A superlative is a superlative. And try not to, and don't copy anything from your resume onto your cover letter. Re-say, you can use the same point, but just say it again in different words. Now you're using full sentences rather than the point form on your resume. Okay, questions and contact. We've come to the end of the actual Lunch and Learn webinar. So if you have any more questions that we can't cover in the next 5 minutes or so, you can make a virtual appointment with a career development coach, or visit us at kpu.ca/careers. And there's the Career Connection logo and the Advisor Connect logo. So Career Connection is our school job board. And that's, any more questions that I can help with?
Yes, Michelle. I have 2 here. First off, in line with the career fair, how can we match skill requirements if the available jobs are not shown in Career Connection or in the company's website?
What I like to do is when I when I run up against that and I'm not seeing what the job is, I like to look to history. So I will do a search on the job title. It's a bit of a guessing game what the job title is, but if you add archived in your search, you will find old job descriptions that have gone in and been archived. So I might look for plant specialists, thinking Bayview nurseries, job description archived. And then I can start looking at the past. And then I'm going to grab those hard skills and soft skills and pepper them in my resume and cover letter. So you can find it, maybe not the exact match, maybe the job's tweaked a little bit, but at least you're in the ballpark.
Okay, great. Next question here. How many times can you send your resume in for review to resume@kpu.ca? Even after graduation, can KPU alumni still use this service? Great question.
Yes, great question. Yes, alumni, I'm going to do it backwards. Alumni can use the service for as long as they want. We have no cap, and we will do your resume and cover letter till we get it right. So keep it coming.
Okay, that's perfect. I think that's the last question I have here. If there's anything else, please.
I'm just going to add on to that one.
Oh, sure.
It's the point where we're going back and forth. Like, don't feel that you're taking a lot of time because I spend the exact amount of time. If it is going and we're kind of tweaking on something, let's book an appointment and get you in, and then we can, so we're not doing a lot of back and forth. Sorry, I was just having that thought there. But until we get it right.
Perfect. So I have another question here. If we cannot attend the virtual fair due to being at an in-person lab on campus, would it serve us to post our resume at the career fair at all?
Definitely will get you in. What I might suggest doing is, it's all these employers and these contacts are in the system. I would reach out to the employer and maybe set up an informational interview saying that you are in classes on that time. Would you have 15-20 minutes outside of the career fair to have an informational interview? And then you can ask some questions. Remember, an informational interview is that kind of that turnaround interview where you're asking the questions and see if they can set up some time. An employer is looking for, great people, and that shows not assertiveness in a bad way, but it shows that you're interested and eager. So that's what I would do.
Yeah, no, that's great. Last question here. I guess the question is, how can an alumni book for resume review?
Oh, through the Advisor Connect, you go with your student number, log in with your same login. Sorry, I'm losing my voice again. If you don't remember your login, if you send an email to careers@kpu.ca, that will get forwarded to me, and we can work it around, and I'll book you in the other way. But it's the Advisor Connect, so kpu.ca/advisor, and then you click on the icon that you see there for Advisor Connect and book yourself in with your student number.
Great. Okay. Yeah, that's the last question.
Those are awesome questions. Thank you, everybody. And again, thank you for coming to our webinar today. And if you have any more questions, please reach out. I'd love to help.
That's awesome. Thanks, Michelle.
Thank you.
I got one last question.
Sure.
Do you have time, Michelle?
Yeah, absolutely.
And then we'll end this. I promise. Okay, Angelique, if we have recommendation letters from faculty, is it useful to mention or include those, or is that tacky and unnecessary?
You know what I love to do? Everything's going on LinkedIn these days. So I like, if you would reach out to those faculty and ask them to do the recommendation online, it's a good way. Then you don't have to carry the paper or the emails around, and have them do it online. Then the employer is going to trip over it on themselves, and you're kind of tacky in their face. So that's a kind of one way of dealing with it. I used to take them to the interview, photocopies of them in case they were brought up. But again, you know, if it's feeling like you're pushing into it, then you probably are. So I always, you know, listen to your intuition on that. But that's I would reach out to the faculty and get them to do the recommendation on your LinkedIn, and then have your LinkedIn on your resume and cover letter. That's a good question. They're all great questions.
Mm-hmm. And I promise that was the last one, Michelle.
All right. All right. Thank you, everyone. Have a great day.
Thank you, Michelle Matthijssen. Everybody have a great day. And thank you for everybody who participated today and asked questions. If you do have any more questions, we are available. You can find some answers at kpu.ca/careers. And for more information about Career Day, head on over to kpu.ca/career day.
Awesome. And I guess we're ending the live now. Have a great day, everyone. Enjoy the sunshine, and we'll see you at Career Day on March 24th. Have a great day. Bye.